There was not a single positive thing we can take from this race. Yes, you heard that right. Those were Toto Wolff's words after the disaster that was the Bahrain Grand Prix for Mercedes. The Austrian team principal went as far as to say that in order to resolve the enormous number of problems, the team will have to discard all of the work they made over the previous year and start over. One thing is for certain, Mercedes will throw every penny of the cost cap to get down to the root of their issues and make a desperate effort to overtake Red Bull. So what exactly does Mercedes have up its sleeve, and will it work? And what familiar face is making an incredible comeback to the team? Stick around to the end to find out. Mercedes knew something was wrong coming out of pre-season testing, with the team holding late-night discussions the second night after the car abruptly lost front-end downforce. And despite the team appearing to improve on the final day, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell were far off the pace at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix. As his drivers qualified 6/10 behind the leading Red Bull, team principal Toto Wolff acknowledged that he does not believe that the current W14 package will ultimately be competitive, adding that Mercedes had given it their best effort and that now simply need to refocus and sit down with the engineers. "There are no holy cows," he said, "and we need to decide the development direction that we want to pursue in order to be competitive, to win races." Unfortunately, things didn't get any better for Mercedes in the race, with Hamilton finishing 5th and 50 seconds behind Max Verstappen, with George Russell coming in 7th and a further 5 seconds back. Wolff thinks the gap between Red Bull and Mercedes is at least double, if not triple, what it was at the end of the previous campaign. "Asked what's next for Mercedes, he replied, "That's a good question and we'll tackle it straight at the beginning of the week. When you look at where we were at the end of the season, where it seemed like we caught up a lot and it was just a matter of which circuit suited us and which did not. Now everything is bad. The single lap pace is still okay, but in the race we saw the consequences, and to put it bluntly, we're lacking downforce and sliding the tyres and going backwards. Now in the wind tunnel, however, there may be a possibility of hope on the horizon. According to Wolff, an alternative design that goes just beyond the side pods is already being tested in Mercedes' wind tunnel. The zero pods are still held responsible for at least some of Mercedes' downforce issues, but Wolff claims there's more going on than what the spectators can see. Given that the new ground effect cars produce the vast majority of their downforce in that area of the car, it's understood that the floor has ultimately been the deciding factor that has hampered Mercedes in this new rules era. Wolff is also drawing extra motivation from having watched Mercedes customer Aston Martin scrap their first car last season, put on a B-Spec one later in the year, and finish on the podium the next year in Bahrain. Mercedes recently made yet another significant choice that might enable them to regain the lead. The technical team, led by Mike Elliott, has enlisted the help of James Allison, an old friend, to help them pinpoint the W14 project's areas for improvement. Prior to Elliott, Allison served as Mercedes technical director and has since moved on from F1 to work for the sailing team Ineos. But as the temperature begins to rise to critical levels, Mercedes is trying out every possibility to regain dominance on the track. The news of Allison's return will be well received by fans. Mercedes won 4 Constructors' Championships under the former technical director's leadership. However, Allison's stellar performance history goes beyond Mercedes. Allison played an instrumental role in both Ferrari and Renault during their championship-winning years. Allison has also reportedly contributed to the updates Mercedes is planning to bring to Imola in May, though Wolff has since revealed that the new package will not be enough to bridge the gap to Red Bull. Despite the difficulties ahead, the team is confident that it's all still to play for this season. When compared to the Red Bull and Ferrari cars, Hamilton's impressive speeds of 324.4 km/h at the speed trap during qualifying and 333.4 km/h during the race have demonstrated that the maximum speed is not the problem. Mercedes' goal now is to maximize downforce while minimizing drag, while also understanding how Red Bull is able to manage their tyres so well. But that's easier said than done. If the team does decide on a new concept, it will be their third in as many years, but it's something they have to do if they want to get back to fighting at the front. It's what Aston Martin did last season, the Silverstone team introducing a Red Bull-style B-Spec car and carrying that concept through into this year's championship with Fernando Alonso joining the Red Bull teammates on the Bahrain podium. As TV presenter Ted Kravitz explained, Mercedes already changed their concept over the winter. Their concept last year was try to get the car as low as possible, Maybe take advantage so the floors could really flex and seal the diffuser and the floor, and then go on from there. Then they had the dreaded porpoising, so the whole of 2022 was written off. They changed the concept. Let's run the car like that, let's run it up a bit, let's change the floor, let's keep the side pods because we think aerodynamically they're good, and you know what, let's go with this concept. This concept hasn't worked, so they're going to go concept 3, they're going to need a third concept in 2.5 years. That's essentially to do what Aston Martin have done. Toto is clear. There's nothing wrong with our power unit, there's nothing wrong with our rear suspension, nothing wrong with the gearbox, all of which are on the Aston. And you look at the Aston, it's a Red Bull copy that's more or less influenced by the Red Bull. So that's what Mercedes will have to do. But if you're a designer at Mercedes, how will you feel? As Hamilton crossed the finish line in 5th place at the Bahrain Grand Prix, he warned the team over the radio that they had work to do, but that he still had faith in them to close the gap on Red Bull. Hamilton was rather upbeat in that message, but he was more critical of his team in a post-race interview with BBC's Checkered Flag podcast. Having raced in every Formula 1 season since 2007, Hamilton says his vast experience means he knows what a car needs. However, he claims that the Mercedes team has not followed through on his recommendations when developing the W14, and he feels that this cannot be overlooked. "Last year I told them the issues that are with the car," said Hamilton. "Like, I've driven so many cars in my life, so I know what a car needs, I know what a car doesn't need. And I think it's really about accountability. It's about owning up and saying, yeah, you know what, we didn't listen to you, it's not where it needs to be, and we've got to work." It's hard not to see why. F1's statistically most successful driver of all time doesn't have a contract beyond 2023. The car concept that his team struggled with last year, but supported wholeheartedly over the winter and tried to refine rather than replace, is actually the wrong one and needs to be reconsidered. It all raises major doubts about when Mercedes will actually resume its title-challenging form, and it's extremely bad news for his chances this season. On Sunday night, Toto Wolff was subjected to the usual barrage of inquiries regarding Hamilton's future. These included the slightly revised question of whether it was appropriate to start considering a Plan B strategy in the event Hamilton leaves, given the severity of the team's early 2023 problems. However, Hamilton has hit back against these characterizations. He jokingly remarked that nothing short of a catastrophe during contract talks could alter his future. That captures the essence of the matter. Even by the standards of a great F1 driver and top team, Mercedes and Hamilton's relationship now extends far beyond on-track performance and is unusually close. More important than what the car does in this situation are the people on both sides. In the context of how tightly integrated Hamilton and Mercedes are, the competitiveness of the car is almost irrelevant. Years have passed since Hamilton could even consider joining another Formula 1 team, and he's made it abundantly clear that he intends to continue competing in F1 beyond 2023. That doesn't mean Mercedes can sit on their hands though, and pressure will be on to see the Silver Arrows turn things around in the shortest time possible. So, what are your thoughts on the rumours surrounding the Mercedes B-Spec car? Will it be enough to propel them to the front, or at the very least get them going in the right direction? And will James Allison's return have a big impact? Give us your opinions in the comment section down below.